Tonight, we journey beyond Earth's atmosphere to explore one of the most enduring mysteries in our solar system. For decades, whispers have circulated among researchers, whistleblowers, and conspiracy theorists about what might truly be hidden on the lunar surface. Some claim our moon isn't the natural satellite we've been told it is. Others suggest structures, bases, and evidence of intelligence exist in the shadows of craters we'll never see from Earth. Are these simply the dreams of overactive imaginations? Or could there be truth lurking in the cosmic shadows? Before we begin tonight's journey, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy exploring mysteries with us. And I'd love to know where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you right now. It's always fascinating to see listeners joining from every corner of the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The moon hangs in our night sky like a silent sentinel, casting its pale light across the earth below. For most of us, it's simply there, a constant companion that waxes and wanes, pulls our tides, and inspires poets. But what if everything we've been told about our celestial neighbor is wrong? What if the moon isn't the natural satellite science textbooks describe, but something far more extraordinary and unsettling? Picture this for a moment. You're standing in your backyard on a clear night, gazing up at a total solar eclipse. The moon slides perfectly across the sun's face, blocking out the brilliant solar disk with mathematical precision. Day becomes night in minutes. Stars appear, the temperature drops, and for a few precious moments, you witness one of nature's most spectacular displays. But here's what should make you pause and wonder. This perfect alignment, this cosmic dance between sun and moon, is what scientists call a sheer astronomical accident. Isaac Asimov, the renowned science writer, once observed something that should give us all reason to question what we think we know. He noted that the moon fits so perfectly over the sun during eclipses that it creates an almost supernatural experience. The sun is roughly 400 times larger than the moon, but it's also roughly 400 times farther away. This creates the illusion that both objects appear nearly identical in size from Earth's surface. Asimov called this the sheerest of coincidence, and noted that only Earth, among all the planets in our solar system, is blessed with such a perfect celestial arrangement. But is it really just coincidence? When you start examining the numbers, things become even stranger. Our moon is proportionally massive compared to Earth. Most planets have tiny moons, or dozens of small rocky fragments orbiting them. Jupiter has 79 known moons, but even its largest, Ganymede, is only about 2% of Jupiter's mass. Saturn's magnificent ring system consists of countless ice particles and rock fragments. Mars has two small, potato-shaped moons that look more like captured asteroids than proper satellites. Earth's moon, however, is different. Dramatically different. It's roughly 1/4 the diameter of Earth, and about 1/81st of Earth's mass. This makes our Earth-Moon system more like a double planet than a traditional planet-satellite relationship. Some astronomers have quietly suggested that this arrangement is so unusual, it borders on the impossible through natural formation processes. Then there's the density problem that mainstream science struggles to explain satisfactorily. Earth has a density of 5.5 grams per cubic centimeter, which makes sense when you consider our planet's iron core and heavy interior metals. The moon, despite being made of similar rocky materials according to official analysis, has a density of only 3.3 grams per cubic centimeter. Where's the missing mass? If the moon formed from the same cosmic materials as Earth, as the giant impact theory suggests, shouldn't the densities be much closer? This density discrepancy has led some researchers to propose a startling possibility. What if the moon isn't solid all the way through? What if significant portions of its interior are hollow? The implications of such a possibility extend far beyond simple geology. A hollow moon would suggest engineering. It would suggest intention. It would suggest that something or someone created our moon for a specific purpose. Consider the moon's behavior during the Apollo missions. When seismic equipment was placed on the lunar surface, the results confounded scientists. The moon didn't behave like other rocky bodies when struck by meteorites or deliberately crashed spacecraft. Instead, it rang like a bell, with vibrations continuing for unusually long periods. A solid, dense, rocky body should absorb impact energy quickly, but the moon seemed to reverberate as though it contained vast, empty spaces inside. The perfect tidal locking presents another puzzle that deserves closer examination. The moon always shows us the same face. Always. The far side remains perpetually hidden from Earth-based observers. While scientists explain this as a natural result of gravitational forces over millions of years, the precision seems almost too convenient. If you wanted to place a surveillance platform in Earth's vicinity, you couldn't design a better arrangement. One side always faces Earth for observation purposes. The other side remains hidden, perfect for concealing activities from curious terrestrial astronomers. Look up at the full moon tonight and really consider what you're seeing. That bright, crater-scarred surface represents only 50% of the lunar landscape. The other half might as well be on the far side of the galaxy, for all we can observe it from Earth. What exists in those hidden regions? What structures, formations, or activities might be occurring beyond our line of sight? The moon's orbital mechanics also raise questions that deserve consideration. Most captured satellites have irregular, elliptical orbits that reflect their chaotic capture process. The moon's orbit is remarkably circular and stable. Its distance from Earth creates those perfect eclipses we discussed. Its gravitational influence on our planet's rotation creates stable seasons and predictable tides. Everything about the moon's presence seems almost designed to benefit life on Earth. Some researchers have suggested that without the moon's stabilizing influence, Earth's climate would be far more chaotic and hostile to the development of complex life forms. The moon acts like a cosmic flywheel, keeping Earth's rotation steady and preventing dramatic shifts in our planet's axis. Again, this could be seen as remarkable good fortune, or it could suggest more deliberate placement. These questions about our moon's true nature aren't new. They've been whispered in scientific circles for decades, though usually couched in careful academic language. But what if the whispers contain more truth than we've been willing to consider? What if our constant celestial companion isn't the random result of cosmic accident, but something far more purposeful and extraordinary? The evidence suggests we should at least be asking these questions, even if the answers challenge everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe. The year 1970 marked a turning point in how humanity viewed the moon. It was then that two Soviet scientists, Michael Vasin and Alexander Sherbakov from the Soviet Academy of Sciences, published an article that would send shockwaves through both the scientific community and the general public. Their paper, titled "Is the Moon the Creation of Alien Intelligence?", appeared in Sputnik magazine, the Soviet equivalent of Reader's Digest. This wasn't some fringe publication peddling wild theories to sell magazines. These were respected members of the Soviet Academy of Sciences, working within a system that valued scientific rigor above sensationalism. Yet here they were, seriously proposing that Earth's moon might be an artificial construct created by an unknown extraterrestrial civilization. The timing of their revelation seems significant when you consider the broader context of the Cold War era. The Soviet Union had been leading the space race throughout the 1960s, achieving milestone after milestone, while American efforts struggled to catch up. Soviet scientists had access to lunar data that Western researchers could only dream of obtaining. They had successfully sent Luna 3 around the moon's far side in 1959, capturing the first photographs of the hidden hemisphere that Earth-based observers had never seen. What did those early Soviet missions discover that prompted such extraordinary conclusions from their scientists? Vasin and Sherbakov didn't reach their hypothesis lightly. They built their argument on a foundation of mounting evidence that the moon's characteristics defied conventional explanation. They pointed to the unusual density we discussed earlier, the perfect orbital mechanics, and most intriguingly, the seismic data that was beginning to emerge from early lunar studies. The Soviet scientists referenced earlier work by astrophysicist Iosif Shklovsky, who had already suggested that Phobos, one of Mars's moons, might be an artificial satellite. Shklovsky had analyzed Phobos's orbital decay and concluded that the small Martian moon was likely hollow. possibly even manufactured, while later data would disprove Shklovsky's Phobos theory. His willingness to consider artificial origins for celestial bodies had opened a door in scientific thinking that others were beginning to walk through. But it was the Apollo mission data that truly transformed speculation into serious consideration. On November 20th, 1969, something extraordinary happened that would fuel moon conspiracy theories for decades to come. The Apollo 12 crew deliberately crashed their lunar module's ascent stage into the moon's surface, creating an artificial moonquake that could be measured by seismic equipment they had left behind. What happened next defied all expectations. The moon rang like a bell for almost an hour. The seismic reverberations continued far longer than any solid rocky body should sustain. NASA scientists were baffled. Maurice Ewing, a seismologist involved in the Apollo program, was quoted as saying the moon reacted in ways that were most spectacular and unlike anything they had anticipated. Picture a massive church bell being struck by a hammer. The sound rings out clearly, reverberating through the metal structure for many seconds before gradually fading to silence. Now, imagine that same bell continuing to ring for nearly an hour, the vibrations sustaining themselves long after the initial impact energy should have been absorbed and dissipated. That's essentially what Apollo 12's seismic experiment revealed about the moon's internal structure. Additional Apollo missions would repeat similar experiments with consistent results. When Apollo 13's third stage rocket was crashed into the lunar surface, the moon once again rang like a hollow structure. The reverberations were detected by seismometers left by previous missions, creating a network of monitoring stations that painted a picture of the moon's interior that didn't match what scientists expected to find. These seismic anomalies caught the attention of researchers worldwide, but they took on special significance in the Soviet Union, where scientists were already questioning conventional lunar formation theories. The combination of the bell-like reverberations, the density discrepancies, and the moon's unusual orbital characteristics created a compelling case for reconsidering the moon's origins. Duncan Lunan, a Scottish researcher, would later analyze strange, long-delayed radio echoes that had been detected by various researchers since the 1920s. In 1973, Lunan published his analysis, suggesting these echoes might originate from a 13,000-year-old alien probe located in orbit around the moon. While Lunan later retracted his conclusions, admitting to errors in his methodology, his work added another layer to the growing mystery surrounding our celestial neighbor. The cultural impact of these scientific papers and theories cannot be understated. Science fiction writers had long imagined hollow moons and artificial satellites, but now respected scientists were suggesting these concepts might have basis in reality. H.G. Wells had written about lunar civilizations in 1901 with The First Men in the Moon, describing a hollow lunar interior inhabited by an advanced alien species called the Selenites. What had seemed like pure fantasy was beginning to look like prescient speculation. The line between science fiction and potential science fact was blurring in ways that made both scientists and the public deeply uncomfortable. If the moon really was artificial, if it really was some kind of massive spacecraft or monitoring station, what did that mean for humanity's understanding of our place in the universe? The Soviet revelations also carried political implications that added complexity to the scientific questions. Some Western observers suggested that the atheistic Soviet Union was promoting ancient astronaut theories as a way to undermine Western religious beliefs. If aliens had created the moon, if extraterrestrial intelligence was responsible for shaping Earth's environment, what did that say about traditional creation stories and religious teachings? But dismissing the Soviet research as mere propaganda overlooks the quality of their scientific work and the mounting physical evidence that supported their conclusions. The moon's mysteries weren't going away simply because the implications were uncomfortable. If anything, each new piece of data made the conventional explanation seem less likely, and the artificial origin hypothesis more plausible. As we moved into the 1970s, the moon had transformed from humanity's romantic companion in the night sky to a source of profound mystery and potential revelation. The ancient whispers of hollow moons and celestial engineering were becoming scientific hypotheses backed by seismic data, orbital mechanics, and photographic evidence from multiple space missions. The year 1965 brought Staff Sergeant Carl Wolf to Langley Air Force Base in Virginia, where he worked as a precision electronics photograph technician. What he witnessed there would haunt him for decades and eventually cost him his life. Wolf had no intention of becoming a whistleblower when he reported for duty that day. He was simply a skilled technician doing his job, processing photographic data from America's early lunar reconnaissance missions. Wolf was called to the base's photographic laboratory to repair some equipment that was malfunctioning during the processing of images from the Lunar Orbiter program. These were the missions designed to map potential landing sites for the upcoming Apollo flights, capturing detailed photographs of the moon's surface that would guide humanity's first steps on another world. The work was routine, technical, and highly classified. As Wolf worked on the faulty equipment, an airman working in the darkroom began sharing information that would change everything Wolf thought he knew about the moon. The airman explained that they had been receiving and processing enhanced images from the lunar missions, and that these new, higher quality photographs had revealed something extraordinary and disturbing on the moon's surface. According to Wolf's later testimony, the airman told him they had discovered structures on the far side of the moon that were clearly artificial in origin. These weren't natural rock formations or crater patterns that might be misinterpreted in low-resolution images. These were buildings, installations, and constructions that could only have been created by intelligent beings with advanced technology. The airman showed Wolf some of the photographs, pointing out features that defied natural explanation. Wolf described seeing geometric shapes, right angles, and architectural patterns that simply don't occur in nature. The structures appeared to be massive in scale, suggesting a level of engineering capability far beyond anything humans possessed in 1965 or even today. Most shocking of all, Wolf was told that these discoveries represented clear evidence of an alien presence on the moon. "We discovered a base on the backside of the moon," the airman said, his words burning themselves into Wolf's memory. The implications were staggering. If aliens had established installations on the moon, how long had they been there? What were they doing? And most importantly, Wolf kept this incredible secret for decades, understanding the sensitive nature of what he had witnessed. But in 2001, he decided to come forward as part of Dr. Stephen Greer's Disclosure Project, an effort to gather credible witnesses who could testify about government knowledge of extraterrestrial phenomena. Wolf's testimony was compelling not because of wild claims or sensational accusations, but because of his credibility as a military technician with appropriate security clearances and direct access to classified materials. The story might have ended there, just another whistleblower account in the growing collection of UFO testimonies. But on October 10, 2019, Carl Wolf was struck and killed by a tractor-trailer while riding his bicycle in Lansing, New York. He was rushed to a nearby hospital but died from his injuries. New York State Police investigated the incident, but no charges were filed, and the driver's identity was never publicly released. The timing of Wolf's death raised eyebrows among researchers familiar with his testimony. He had spent nearly 2 decades speaking publicly about what he witnessed at Langley, appearing in documentaries and giving interviews about the alien structures he claimed to have seen in NASA photographs. Why would someone want him silenced after so many years? Unless, perhaps, new lunar missions were planned that might confirm his claims and embarrass those who had spent decades covering up the truth. Even more suspicious was the death of Sergeant Major Robert Dean just 1 day after Wolf's fatal accident. Dean was another prominent figure in UFO research, claiming to have read classified NATO documents about extraterrestrial visitation while stationed in France during the 1960s. 2 prominent whistleblowers dying within 24 hours of each other seemed like more than mere coincidence to conspiracy researchers. But Wolf wasn't the only insider who claimed knowledge of alien activity on the moon. Donna Hare had worked for NASA contractor Philco Ford in the early 1970s, with high security clearances that gave her access to NASA's photo laboratories and other sensitive departments. During the same Disclosure Project press conference where Wolf testified, Hare revealed that NASA routinely covered up and eliminated space anomalies from photographs before releasing them to the public. Hare described a systematic process of airbrushing, editing, and removing evidence of UFOs and other unexplained phenomena from satellite and space mission photography. She had witnessed this cover-up operation firsthand, watching as technicians carefully removed objects and anomalies that couldn't be easily explained to the public. According to Hare, NASA had been sanitizing space imagery for decades, ensuring that any evidence of extraterrestrial presence would never reach public scrutiny. The most extraordinary testimony came from a man named Ingo Swann, who claimed to have been recruited by the CIA for a highly classified remote viewing session focused on the moon. Remote viewing was a psychic technique that intelligence agencies had been researching since the 1970s, spending millions of dollars on experiments with people who claimed they could observe distant locations using only their minds. In 1975, according to Swann's account, he was blindfolded and transported by helicopter to an underground facility where he was given an unprecedented assignment. Government officials told him they wanted him to use his remote viewing abilities to observe the moon and describe what he saw there. The request seemed strange even by the standards of psychic espionage, but Swann agreed to attempt the session. What Swann claimed to have observed during his remote viewing of the moon reads like science fiction, but his account contains details that align disturbingly well with other whistleblower testimonies. He described seeing structures, machinery, and most shocking of all, beings that looked remarkably human, working in what appeared to be mining or construction operations on the lunar surface. During the remote viewing session, Swann reported that some of these beings seemed to sense his psychic presence. Two of them actually pointed in his direction, as if they could detect that they were being observed from Earth. This unexpected interaction terrified Swann and suggested that whatever intelligence was operating on the moon possessed psychic abilities that matched or exceeded human capabilities. When Swann asked his government handlers why NASA or the military hadn't returned to the moon since the Apollo program ended, one official gave him a chilling response. "They somehow have told you to stay away," the official said. "That's why you are resorting to psychic perceptions. They are not friendly, are they?" This conversation implied that the United States government was aware of an alien presence on the moon and had received some form of warning or ultimatum to cease lunar exploration activities. It would explain why the Apollo program ended so abruptly after Apollo 17 in 1972, despite plans for additional missions and even permanent lunar bases. The testimonies of Wolf, Hare, and Swann paint a picture of a decades-long cover-up involving multiple government agencies, military branches, and intelligence organizations. These weren't random conspiracy theorists making wild accusations. These were credible witnesses with appropriate security clearances, direct access to classified materials, and detailed knowledge of government operations. Their willingness to risk their careers, their reputations, and potentially their lives to share this information suggests they believed the truth was more important than their personal safety. The mysterious circumstances surrounding some of their deaths only adds credibility to their claims and raises darker questions about how far the cover-up extends and what methods are used to maintain it. The Lunar Orbiter program began in 1966 with a seemingly straightforward mission: photograph potential landing sites for the upcoming Apollo missions and create detailed maps of the moon's surface. Between 1966 and 1967, 5 Lunar Orbiter spacecraft captured over 2,600 high-resolution photographs of our celestial neighbor. These images would guide humanity's first steps on another world and provide the foundation for lunar exploration planning. What the public received, however, may have been quite different from what the cameras actually recorded. According to multiple witnesses and researchers, the gap between raw photographic data and publicly released images represents one of the most significant cover-ups in space exploration history. The question isn't whether anomalies exist in lunar photography, but rather, how many have been systematically removed before the public ever had a chance to see them. Alan Sturm spent years analyzing the Apollo photographic record, developing techniques to identify potential artificial structures in lunar imagery. His research approach differed from other anomaly hunters because he understood the challenges of interpreting images taken under extreme lighting conditions on an airless world. Sturm created computer simulations that helped him distinguish between natural geological formations and potentially artificial structures. Using high-resolution scans from NASA's archives, Sturm identified numerous anomalies that suggested the presence of artificial constructions on the lunar surface. He found geometric patterns that didn't occur naturally, perfectly straight lines cutting across crater formations, and structures that appeared to have been manufactured rather than formed by impact or volcanic activity. Most significantly, he discovered that many of these anomalies appeared in multiple photographs taken from different angles, ruling out simple tricks of light and shadow. But perhaps the most famous photographic anomaly was discovered by Richard Hoagland, a former NASA consultant who analyzed a Lunar Orbiter 3 photograph taken in February of 1967. The image appeared to show a mile-high spire rising from the lunar surface near the crater Bruce. Hoagland dubbed this formation the Shard, and argued that no known geological process could explain such a structure. The Shard appears as a narrow tower-like formation reaching impossibly high above the lunar plains. Its proportions in isolation make it difficult to explain as a natural rock formation. The structure's height and narrowness would make it extremely unstable under normal geological conditions. Yet there it stands, casting a long shadow across the lunar landscape. Hoagland's analysis suggested that the Shard might be some kind of communication antenna or monitoring device placed on the moon by an advanced civilization. NASA's response to the Shard controversy was to dismiss it as a photographic artifact or processing error. They claimed that the tower-like appearance was created by the image enhancement process rather than representing an actual structure on the lunar surface. However, independent researchers who obtained original, unprocessed versions of the photograph found that the Shard appeared in the raw data as well, suggesting that it represents a real physical formation rather than a processing mistake. Another significant anomaly was discovered in photographs of the Archimedes crater region. The images, which were published in National Geographic magazine, showed what appeared to be a massive platform-like structure, measuring approximately 5 miles long and 1 mile wide. The object had geometric characteristics that seemed inconsistent with natural crater formation, leading some researchers to suggest it might be an artificial construction. What made the Archimedes platform particularly intriguing was that higher resolution images taken later seemed to show the same area looking completely natural. The platform appearance had vanished, replaced by what looked like ordinary crater walls and rock formations. This dramatic difference between earlier and later photographs raised questions about whether images were being systematically altered to remove anomalous features before public release. Scott Waring, who runs the ET database website, has spent years analyzing lunar imagery available through Google Moon and other public archives. His research has identified numerous structures that appear artificial in origin, including what he claims is a 9-mile-long construction in the De Moraes crater. Waring's analysis involves examining the same areas using different image filters and enhancement techniques to determine whether apparent anomalies represent real structures or digital processing artifacts. One of Waring's most compelling discoveries involves the systematic disappearance of anomalies when certain image filters are applied. He found that structures visible in older lunar orbiter photographs would vanish completely when viewed through more recent imaging systems, suggesting that newer photographs had been processed to remove evidence of artificial constructions. This pattern of selective editing implies a coordinated effort to sanitize lunar imagery before public release. The technical challenges of lunar photography add complexity to anomaly analysis. The moon's lack of atmosphere creates extreme lighting conditions with stark shadows and brilliant highlights. Structures that appear artificial might actually be natural formations viewed under unusual lighting angles. However, experienced researchers like Sturm developed techniques to account for these challenges, analyzing multiple images of the same areas taken under different conditions. Gary McKinnon, the Scottish computer expert who gained unauthorized access to NASA and Pentagon systems in the early 2000s, claimed to have seen nearly 300 photographs of artificial structures on the moon's far side. According to McKinnon, these images showed clear evidence of alien bases and constructions that were systematically airbrushed out of photographs before public release. McKinnon described seeing images of massive structures, geometric formations, and installations that could only have been created by advanced technology. He claimed that NASA maintained two sets of lunar photographs, the sanitized versions released to the public, and the unaltered originals that showed clear evidence of extraterrestrial presence on the moon. The fact that McKinnon was prosecuted aggressively for his computer intrusions, facing potential extradition and decades in prison, suggested that his discoveries were taken seriously by government authorities. The systematic nature of alleged photo editing raises important questions about the integrity of NASA's Lunar Image Archive. If anomalies are being routinely removed from photographs, what does that say about the agency's commitment to scientific transparency? More importantly, what are they trying to hide? And how long can such a massive cover-up be maintained in an age of high-resolution digital imagery and independent analysis? Independent researchers continue to analyze publicly available lunar photographs, using advanced image processing techniques to search for evidence of artificial structures. While many claimed anomalies can be explained as natural formations or processing artifacts, some remain genuinely puzzling and deserve serious scientific investigation rather than reflexive dismissal. The photographic evidence suggests that our moon may hold secrets that go far beyond conventional geology and impact crater formation. Whether these secrets involve alien bases, ancient civilizations, or simply natural formations that challenge our understanding of lunar geology remains to be determined. What seems clear is that the full truth about what exists on the moon's surface has not been shared with the public. The Apollo 11 mission launched on July 16, 1969, carrying 3 astronauts toward humanity's first lunar landing. What the world witnessed through television broadcasts and official NASA communications was a carefully choreographed demonstration of American technological prowess and human courage. But according to various sources and alleged classified transcripts, the real story of what happened on the moon may have been far more extraordinary and disturbing than the public was ever allowed to know. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin spent 21 hours and 36 minutes on the lunar surface, with approximately 2.5 hours devoted to moonwalks outside their landing craft. During their time on the moon, they collected rock samples, conducted scientific experiments, planted an American flag, and took the famous photographs that would define humanity's first steps on another world. But they also spent 7 hours in what NASA officially described as a rest period before beginning their moonwalk activities. 7 hours is a remarkably long time to rest after the most significant landing in human history. Consider the adrenaline that must have been coursing through the astronauts' systems after successfully completing a mission that President Kennedy had declared essential to American prestige and security. Would Armstrong and Aldrin really have been able to sleep peacefully in their cramped lunar module, knowing they were sitting on the surface of another world? Some researchers have suggested that this extended rest period provided cover for activities that NASA preferred not to broadcast to the world. While the astronauts were supposedly sleeping, they may have been conducting reconnaissance of nearby areas, investigating anomalous structures, or even making contact with entities they encountered on the lunar surface. The official timeline shows a curious gap between landing and the first moonwalk that has never been adequately explained. More intriguing are the alleged transcripts of conversations between the Apollo crew and mission control that were supposedly classified for decades before being leaked to researchers. These transcripts describe encounters and observations that go far beyond collecting moon rocks and conducting scientific experiments. While the authenticity of these documents remains disputed, their content aligns with other whistleblower testimonies and alleged insider knowledge. According to these controversial transcripts, Neil Armstrong reported seeing artificial structures and vehicles on the moon that were clearly not of human origin. In one alleged exchange, Armstrong describes encountering spacecraft that were far superior to ours, both in size and technology. He reportedly told Mission Control that these alien vessels were not only massive, but also menacing in their appearance and behavior. The transcripts suggest that the Apollo crew was warned away from certain areas of the moon by these unknown entities. Armstrong allegedly stated that there was never any question then of a space station or a moon city, because the astronauts had been clearly told to stay away from established installations. This would explain why subsequent Apollo missions were limited to brief surface stays and why plans for permanent lunar bases were quietly abandoned. When asked about future missions in these alleged transcripts, Armstrong reportedly replied that NASA was committed to completing the program because they couldn't risk a panic on Earth, but that subsequent missions would follow a quick scoop and back again strategy rather than attempting extended exploration or construction activities. This approach would minimize the risk of further encounters while maintaining the appearance of a successful space program. The Apollo missions included periods when the spacecraft passed behind the moon, cutting off radio communication with Earth for approximately 45 minutes during each orbit. These communication blackouts occurred during some of the most critical phases of the missions, including orbital reconnaissance of potential landing sites and departure procedures. What happened during these radio silence periods has never been fully explained to the public. Gary McKinnon's unauthorized access to NASA computer systems allegedly revealed evidence that the space agency maintained detailed records of encounters with non-human entities during the Apollo missions. According to McKinnon, these classified files contained photographs and reports describing alien bases, advanced technology, and warnings delivered to human visitors. The aggressive prosecution of McKinnon for his computer intrusions suggests that his discoveries touched on highly sensitive information. The abrupt termination of the Apollo program after Apollo 17 in 1972 has never been satisfactorily explained by budget constraints alone. The program was achieving remarkable success, public interest remained high, and the scientific value of lunar exploration was becoming increasingly apparent. Plans existed for Apollo missions extending into the 1980s, including the establishment of permanent research stations and extended surface operations. Yet the program ended suddenly, with NASA's focus shifting to the space shuttle and low Earth orbit operations. The official explanation cited budget pressures and changing political priorities, but some researchers suggest that the real reason was an ultimatum delivered by the entities that had claimed the moon as their territory. Continued human presence on the lunar surface was not welcome, and further missions risked escalating into open conflict with technologically superior beings. The pattern of brief surface stays and limited exploration areas, followed by all Apollo missions, supports this interpretation. Rather than establishing permanent bases or conducting extensive geological surveys, each mission followed a similar pattern of quick landing, limited activity, and rapid departure. Even Apollo 17, the longest mission, spent only 3 days on the surface, hardly enough time for comprehensive scientific investigation of an entire world. Audio recordings from the missions contain numerous references to unidentified objects and unexplained phenomena that were either edited out of public broadcasts or dismissed as routine equipment malfunctions. Astronauts reported seeing lights, structures, and moving objects that had no conventional explanation. While some of these sightings could be attributed to the disorienting effects of space travel or unfamiliar lighting conditions, others were described in detail by multiple crew members and correlated with photographic evidence. The psychological impact on the astronauts themselves provides another piece of the puzzle. Several Apollo veterans became notably reclusive after their missions, avoiding public appearances and refusing to discuss details of their lunar experiences. Neil Armstrong, despite being the first human to walk on the moon, rarely gave interviews about his historic achievement and seemed uncomfortable when pressed for details about what he observed during the mission. The transformation of American space policy after Apollo suggests that something fundamental changed during those missions. The bold vision of lunar cities and interplanetary exploration that characterized the 1960s gave way to more cautious, Earth-focused programs that avoided returning to the moon. Whether this shift resulted from budget realities, technical challenges, or warnings from lunar inhabitants remains one of the most significant unanswered questions in space exploration history. The evidence suggests that the Apollo missions accomplished far more than NASA has ever publicly acknowledged, but that some of those accomplishments came with costs and consequences that forced a complete reevaluation of humanity's place in the solar system and our readiness for. Beneath the moon's scarred and cratered surface lies a hidden world that challenges everything we think we know about our celestial neighbor. Recent discoveries by robotic missions, combined with decades of seismic data from the Apollo program, paint a picture of vast underground networks that extend far deeper and spread much wider than natural geological processes should allow. These subsurface structures raise profound questions about the moon's true nature and the possibility that advanced civilizations have been using our satellite for purposes we can barely imagine. China's Chang'e 4 mission achieved a historic milestone on January 3, 2019, when it became the first spacecraft to successfully land on the far side of the moon. The mission's U-22 rover carried sophisticated ground-penetrating radar equipment designed to analyze the lunar subsurface in unprecedented detail. What the rover discovered during its extended exploration has quietly revolutionized our understanding of lunar geology, though the full implications of these findings have not been widely discussed in mainstream media. The rover's lunar penetrating radar system revealed layer upon layer of hidden structures extending nearly 1,000 feet beneath the moon's surface. These aren't simple rock formations or the result of ancient lava flows. The radar data shows a complex arrangement of chambers, tunnels, and geometric patterns that suggest deliberate construction rather than natural formation. The precision and organization of these underground networks implies engineering capabilities that far exceed anything humans have ever achieved. Dr. Jianqing Feng, an astrogeological researcher at the Planetary Science Institute, described the discovery process as sending radio waves deep into the lunar subsurface and listening to the echoes that bounce back from underground structures. The echoes revealed a hidden landscape of interconnected spaces that extends horizontally for miles and vertically for hundreds of feet. The scale of this underground infrastructure suggests a massive construction project that would have required advanced technology and enormous resources to complete. The radar data shows clear evidence of artificial chambers large enough to house entire cities. Some of these underground spaces appear to be connected by tunnel systems that span vast distances across the lunar surface. The geometric precision of these structures rules out natural formation processes like lava tube creation or impact crater formation. Someone or something has been excavating and constructing elaborate underground facilities on the moon for an unknown period of time. India's Chandrayaan-1 lunar orbiter had previously detected evidence of extensive cave systems beneath the moon's surface, but the Chang'e 4 data revealed that these caves are far more extensive and sophisticated than anyone had imagined. The tunnel networks appear to connect different regions of the moon's far side, creating a transportation and communication system that spans hundreds of miles. The engineering required for such construction implies a level of technological sophistication that human civilization has not yet achieved. Temperature measurements from various lunar missions have revealed another puzzling aspect of the moon's underground infrastructure. Certain areas beneath the surface maintain surprisingly warm temperatures, even during the lunar night, when surface temperatures drop to -400 degrees Fahrenheit. These thermal anomalies suggest the presence of active heating systems or energy generation equipment that continues to operate regardless of solar exposure. The seismic data collected during the Apollo missions takes on new significance when viewed in light of these subsurface discoveries. The moon's tendency to ring like a bell when struck by meteorites or crashed spacecraft makes perfect sense if large portions of its interior are hollow and artificially constructed. The sustained reverberations that puzzled scientists for decades could be the result of sound waves bouncing through vast underground chambers and tunnel systems. Apollo-era seismometers detected thousands of moonquakes over the years they remained operational, but many of these seismic events didn't follow the patterns expected from natural geological activity. Some moonquakes seemed to originate from specific underground locations and occurred with suspicious regularity, almost as if machinery or construction activities were generating the vibrations. The depth and consistency of these artificial-seeming moonquakes align with the locations where Chinese radar has now detected underground structures. The construction materials required for such extensive underground infrastructure would be enormous. Fortunately, the moon provides abundant raw materials in the form of metal-rich regolith and rocky deposits. Advanced mining and processing equipment could extract iron, aluminum, titanium, and other construction materials directly from the lunar surface. The low-gravity environment would actually make large-scale construction projects easier than similar efforts on Earth, allowing for the creation of structures that would be impossible under terrestrial conditions. Energy generation for powering such extensive underground facilities presents interesting possibilities. The moon receives constant solar radiation on its day side, making solar power collection highly efficient. Additionally, the moon contains substantial deposits of helium-3, a rare isotope that could fuel advanced fusion reactors with minimal radioactive waste. An advanced civilization with fusion technology could generate virtually unlimited clean energy using materials readily available on the lunar surface. The strategic advantages of underground lunar bases are obvious from both defensive and operational standpoints. Subterranean facilities would be protected from meteorite impacts, radiation exposure, and extreme temperature variations that make the lunar surface so hostile to life. Underground installations would also be invisible to Earth-based observation, allowing activities to proceed without detection by curious human astronomers. The tunnel networks revealed by Chang'e 4's radar could serve multiple purposes beyond simple transportation. They might house manufacturing facilities, living quarters, storage areas, and research laboratories. The interconnected nature of the tunnel systems would allow a lunar civilization to operate across vast areas while remaining completely hidden from surface observation. It's the perfect setup for a surveillance operation designed to monitor Earth while avoiding detection. What makes these discoveries particularly significant is their location on the moon's far side, permanently hidden from Earth-based observation. While humans can see approximately 50% of the lunar surface from Earth, the other 50% remains perpetually concealed due to tidal locking. This hidden hemisphere would be the ideal location for establishing bases and infrastructure that need to remain secret from terrestrial observers. The implications of extensive underground infrastructure on the moon extend far beyond simple scientific curiosity. If advanced beings have been constructing and operating elaborate facilities beneath the lunar surface for centuries or millennia, what does that say about their intentions regarding Earth? Are we being studied, protected, or perhaps prepared for some future interaction that we don't yet understand? The Chang'e 4 discoveries, combined with decades of seismic anomalies and photographic evidence, suggest that the moon harbors secrets that go far beyond conventional planetary science. The underground networks may represent the largest construction project in the solar system, hidden in plain sight just 240,000 miles from Earth. In 1975, Ingo Swann sat in an underground facility, blindfolded and disoriented after a mysterious helicopter journey to an unknown location. What he experienced during the next few hours would challenge everything scientists thought they knew about consciousness, psychic phenomena, and the nature of intelligence in our solar system. Swann had been recruited by government officials for an unprecedented remote viewing experiment. Their target was not some terrestrial military installation or enemy facility. They wanted him to use his psychic abilities to observe the moon and report what he found there. Swann was already familiar with remote viewing through his work with the CIA's Project Stargate. But this assignment was different. The level of secrecy, the elaborate security measures, and the obvious importance placed on the mission by his handlers suggested that this experiment was connected to information of the highest national security significance. When they finally removed his blindfold and explained the task, Swann understood why such extreme precautions had been necessary. With Swann relaxing his consciousness and allowing his awareness to expand beyond the confines of the underground facility. But instead of focusing on earthbound targets, he was asked to project his psychic perception across the void of space to the lunar surface. What he reported seeing during that session reads like science fiction. but the details align disturbingly well with other evidence about artificial structures and alien presence on the moon. Swan described observing large-scale construction and mining operations on the lunar surface. He saw geometric structures that were clearly artificial in origin, massive machinery moving materials across the barren landscape, and most significantly, humanoid beings engaged in what appeared to be industrial activities. These beings looked remarkably similar to humans, but their behavior and technology suggested capabilities far beyond anything terrestrial civilization possessed. The most unsettling aspect of Swan's remote viewing experience was the apparent awareness these beings showed of his psychic observation. During the session, he reported that two of the humanoid figures suddenly stopped their activities and pointed directly toward his location, as if they could detect his remote presence from across the vast distance of space. This interaction suggested that the lunar inhabitants possessed psychic abilities that matched or exceeded human capabilities. The implications of psychically aware aliens living on the moon are staggering to consider. If these beings can detect remote viewing attempts from Earth, they almost certainly possess other advanced consciousness technologies that would give them significant advantages in any interaction with human civilization. Their ability to sense Swan's observation from 240,000 miles away suggests a level of mental development that makes them formidable, scientifically and strategically. When Swan asked his government handlers why NASA or the military hadn't returned to the moon since the Apollo program ended, their response was chilling. "They somehow have told you to stay away," one official explained. "That's why you are resorting to psychic perceptions. They are not friendly, are they?" This conversation revealed that the United States government was not only aware of an alien presence on the moon, but had apparently received some form of ultimatum or warning that ended further lunar exploration. The description of lunar inhabitants as human-like raises fascinating questions about the nature of intelligence in the universe. Are these beings related to humanity in some way, perhaps representing an older branch of human development that left Earth long ago? Or do they represent a parallel evolution of intelligence that happened to develop along similar biological lines? Their human appearance could also be deliberate, perhaps achieved through genetic manipulation or shape-shifting technology designed to make future contact less traumatic for terrestrial humans. The industrial activities Swan observed suggest that the lunar aliens are engaged in large-scale resource extraction and construction projects. The moon contains abundant deposits of rare earth metals, helium-3 for fusion energy, and other materials that would be valuable to an advanced technological civilization. Mining operations on the moon would be far more efficient than similar activities on inhabited planets, as there would be no environmental concerns or native populations to consider. The surveillance aspects of a lunar base cannot be ignored when considering the aliens' motivations for establishing operations there. From the moon's position, advanced beings could monitor all human activities on Earth using telescopic and electronic equipment far more sophisticated than anything we possess. They could track our technological development, observe our social and political evolution, and make decisions about when and how to reveal themselves based on careful analysis of human readiness for contact. The warning delivered to human space programs suggests that these lunar watchers have specific boundaries they expect us to respect. They may be willing to tolerate limited scientific missions and brief surface visits, but permanent human bases or extensive exploration activities cross lines they are not prepared to allow. This implies a long-term strategy for managing human space development that serves their interests rather than ours. The question of whether these beings are friendly or hostile cannot be answered definitively based on available evidence. Their warning to stay away from the moon could be interpreted as protective, preventing humans from stumbling into dangerous situations or technologies we're not ready to handle. Alternatively, it could represent territorial behavior by beings who view the moon as their property and humans as potential competitors for lunar resources. The advanced technology these watchers possess would make any conflict extremely one-sided. If they have been constructing extensive infrastructure on the moon for centuries or millennia, their technological capabilities likely exceed human science by orders of magnitude. Their apparent psychic abilities add another dimension to their advantages. allowing them to monitor human thoughts and intentions in ways we cannot defend against or counter. Yet their restraint in dealing with human lunar missions suggests a level of wisdom or strategic thinking that goes beyond simple conquest or domination. Rather than destroying Apollo missions or preventing human space development entirely, they have chosen to establish boundaries and communicate limits through unofficial channels. This approach implies long-term planning and possibly benevolent intentions, though their ultimate goals remain unknown. The Watchers on the Moon represent one of the most significant developments in human history, even though most of humanity remains unaware of their existence. Their presence changes everything about our understanding of Earth's place in the cosmos and raises profound questions about humanity's future development. Are we being prepared for eventual contact, tested for our readiness to join a larger galactic community, or simply monitored as a potentially dangerous species that requires careful management? The answers to these questions may determine not only the future of human space exploration, but the ultimate destiny of our species. The Watchers continue their silent vigil, observing our progress, and perhaps waiting for the right moment to step out of the shadows and reveal themselves to a world that may finally be ready to learn the truth about our cosmic neighbors. Deep within the labyrinthine corridors of government secrecy lies a web of classified programs, black budget operations, and compartmentalized projects that have been investigating extraterrestrial phenomena for decades. The official denials and public dismissals of UFO sightings serve as a carefully constructed facade that conceals one of the most extensive cover-up operations in modern. The lunar alien presence represents just one piece of a much larger puzzle, involving government knowledge of extraterrestrial intelligence that extends far beyond what most citizens could imagine. The military-industrial complex that President Eisenhower warned about in his farewell address has evolved into something far more sophisticated and secretive than even he anticipated. Defense contractors like Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and Boeing maintain classified research divisions that work on projects so sensitive that even their existence is denied by official sources. These corporate entities serve as a buffer between government agencies and activities that require plausible deniability, allowing research to continue even when political leadership changes or public scrutiny increases. The connection between these defense contractors and lunar research becomes apparent when examining the careers of key whistleblowers like Carl Wolf. His work at Langley Air Force Base involved processing photographs for lunar orbiter missions through military contractors who had security clearances and access to classified space imagery. The fact that civilian contractors were involved in analyzing lunar photographs suggests that the scope of hidden lunar research extends far beyond traditional government. Project Stargate, the CIA's remote viewing program that operated from 1977 to 1995, consumed millions of dollars in government funding while officially producing no useful intelligence results. Yet the program continued for nearly 2 decades, suggesting that it was generating valuable information that justified continued funding, despite public skepticism about psychic phenomena. Ingo Swan's lunar remote viewing session occurred outside the official Stargate program, indicating that even more classified consciousness research was happening in parallel channels. The compartmentalization techniques developed during the Manhattan Project have been refined and expanded to create information silos that prevent even high-level officials from understanding the full scope of classified programs. A Secretary of Defense or NASA administrator might have genuine ignorance about alien contact programs while believing they have access to all relevant information. This deliberate fragmentation allows the cover-up to continue, even when sincere officials make public statements denying government knowledge of extraterrestrial intelligence. International cooperation agreements provide another layer of complexity to the lunar cover-up. The Antarctic Treaty of 1959 established a precedent for international management of territories that might contain sensitive discoveries. Similar frameworks may exist for space exploration, creating binding agreements between major powers to suppress information about alien presence on the Moon or other celestial bodies. These treaties would explain why both American and Soviet lunar programs ended abruptly, despite their obvious scientific and strategic value. The timing of various space program decisions supports the existence of coordinated international suppression efforts. The Soviet Union's early lead in space exploration gave them first access to lunar imagery and data that might have revealed alien structures. Their sudden shift toward cooperation with the United States in the 1970s, including joint Apollo-Soyuz missions, coincided with the end of competitive lunar exploration. Both superpowers seem to reach similar conclusions about the risks and benefits of continued lunar activities at roughly the same time. Black budget funding provides the financial resources necessary to maintain extensive cover-up operations while conducting classified research into alien technology and intentions. The Pentagon's acknowledgement that it cannot account for trillions of dollars in spending suggests that vast resources are being directed toward programs that don't appear in official budget documents. Some portion of this unacknowledged funding likely supports lunar monitoring, alien technology research, and the infrastructure required to maintain decades of secrecy. The revolving door between government positions and defense contractor employment ensures continuity in classified programs, regardless of political changes. Career officials who manage sensitive projects often move between agencies and private companies while maintaining their security clearances and project knowledge. This creates a permanent bureaucracy of individuals who have incentives to maintain secrecy and continue existing policies, rather than risk exposure through whistleblowing or policy changes. Disinformation campaigns represent one of the most sophisticated aspects of the lunar cover-up operation. Rather than simply denying all claims about alien presence, intelligence agencies have developed techniques for mixing truthful information with deliberate falsehoods, making it nearly impossible for outside researchers to separate fact from fiction. This approach allows them to gauge public reaction to various disclosure scenarios while maintaining plausible deniability about the accuracy of any specific claims. The role of popular culture in the cover-up cannot be underestimated. Science fiction movies, television shows, and books serve multiple purposes in shaping public perception of alien contact scenarios. They can be used to ridicule serious researchers by associating their work with fictional entertainment, while simultaneously preparing the public for eventual disclosure by normalizing the concept of extraterrestrial intelligence. The entertainment industry's connections to intelligence agencies through various consulting and cooperation agreements facilitate this psychological conditioning process. Witness elimination represents the darkest aspect of maintaining the lunar cover-up, though proving direct causation between whistleblower deaths and government action remains extremely difficult. The pattern of convenient accidents, sudden illnesses, and violent crimes affecting individuals who claim knowledge of alien phenomena exceeds what statistical probability would suggest. Carl Wolf's death shortly after decades of public testimony about lunar alien bases fits this pattern, as does the timing of Robert Dean's death just one day later. The establishment of the United States Space Force in 2019 signals a new phase in military space operations that may be connected to lunar alien presence. While the official mission focuses on satellite protection and space debris monitoring, the creation of an entirely new military branch suggests preparation for conflicts or situations that existing services cannot handle. The Space Force's budget and actual activities remain largely classified, preventing public oversight of what may be humanity's first official military response to extraterrestrial intelligence. The technological implications of reverse engineering alien technology discovered on the Moon could revolutionize human civilization within decades. Energy systems, propulsion technology, materials science, and communication methods derived from lunar alien sources would provide overwhelming advantages to any nation that gained access to them first. The competitive pressure to maintain exclusive access to such technology creates powerful incentives for continued secrecy, even as the costs of the cover-up continue to mount. The psychological and social challenges of eventual disclosure may be driving continued suppression efforts as much as strategic or technological concerns. Government analysts have likely concluded that revealing the existence of technologically superior alien intelligence would cause widespread panic, religious upheaval, and economic disruption that could threaten social stability worldwide. The decision to maintain secrecy may reflect genuine concern about humanity's ability to cope with cosmic reality, rather than simple desire for technological. The lunar surface presents a unique archaeological challenge that requires new methods for identifying artificial structures among natural formations. Unlike Earth, where erosion, vegetation, and weather patterns help distinguish between natural and artificial features, the Moon's airless environment preserves structures in pristine condition while creating extreme lighting conditions that can make interpretation difficult. However, these same harsh conditions also reveal geometric patterns and architectural elements that would be impossible to hide under terrestrial conditions. The most compelling evidence for artificial lunar construction lies in the mathematical precision of certain surface features. Natural geological processes create random patterns, curved formations, and irregular shapes that reflect the chaotic nature of impact events, volcanic activity, and gravitational forces. Artificial construction, by contrast, tends toward geometric regularity, straight lines, and symmetrical arrangements that maximize structural efficiency and aesthetic appeal. Analysis of high-resolution lunar imagery reveals numerous examples of perfectly straight lines cutting across crater formations and connecting distant surface features. These lines maintain consistent width and direction over distances that would be impossible for natural processes to create. Some appear to be elevated above the surrounding terrain, like roadways or pipelines, while others seem to be cut into the lunar surface, like channels or foundations for larger structures. Right angles represent another geometric impossibility in natural lunar formations. Impact craters create circular or elliptical shapes. Lava flows follow gravitational gradients and create curved organic patterns. Tectonic activity produces irregular fractures and fault lines. Yet numerous lunar photographs show clear examples of 90-degree angles, rectangular formations, and square structures that could only result from intelligent design and construction. The scale of some suspected artificial structures defies conventional understanding of engineering capabilities. The shard identified by Richard Hoagland extends approximately 1 mile above the lunar surface, a height that would be structurally impossible using conventional construction materials and techniques. The geometric precision and isolation of this formation strongly suggest artificial origin, possibly serving as a communication antenna or monitoring device for observing Earth. Rectangular and cylindrical structures, visible in various lunar photographs, appear to be manufacturing or habitation facilities designed to protect internal activities from the harsh lunar environment. These formations show consistent architectural elements, including what appear to be entrance ports, ventilation systems, and geometric patterns that suggest internal organization rather than random natural formation. The clustering patterns of suspected artificial structures provide additional evidence for intelligent construction. Natural formations tend to be randomly distributed across planetary surfaces according to geological and impact probability factors. However, suspected alien structures on the Moon show clear clustering around specific geographic features, particularly crater rims and elevated areas that would provide strategic advantages for observation and communication activities. Material analysis of lunar structures presents unique challenges, since direct sampling would require return missions that haven't occurred since the Apollo era. However, spectroscopic analysis from orbital platforms has revealed unusual concentrations of processed metals and refined materials in areas where artificial structures are suspected. These material signatures differ significantly from the raw regolith and rock formations that characterize most of the lunar surface. The reflective properties of certain lunar features suggest the presence of manufactured materials rather than natural rock formations. Glass-like surfaces that reflect light in consistent patterns indicate processing technologies that could produce smooth, uniform materials suitable for construction purposes. Natural lunar materials tend to be rough, irregular, and light-absorbing rather than highly reflective. Underground construction evidence emerges from ground-penetrating radar data that reveals geometric voids and structural patterns beneath the lunar surface. These subsurface formations show clear evidence of excavation and architectural planning rather than natural cave formation or lava tube creation. The precision and interconnected nature of underground chambers suggests a coordinated construction project spanning large areas of the lunar interior. Thermal signatures from suspected artificial structures indicate active energy generation or climate control systems that maintain consistent temperatures regardless of surface conditions. Natural lunar formations show extreme temperature variations between day and night sides, but certain structures maintain thermal stability that suggests internal heating or insulation systems powered by artificial energy sources. The strategic positioning of suspected alien structures provides insight into their potential functions and the intelligence behind their construction. Many formations occupy elevated positions that would provide optimal sightlines for Earth observation, while others cluster around resource-rich areas that would support mining or manufacturing operations. This purposeful geographic distribution indicates planning and coordination rather than random construction. Camouflage techniques appear to be employed in lunar alien architecture, with many structures designed to blend with natural crater formations and rock outcroppings when viewed from Earth-based telescopes. However, higher resolution imagery and different photographic angles reveal geometric elements and architectural details that betray artificial origin. This suggests that the builders were specifically concerned about detection from Earth while maintaining functional efficiency. The construction timeframes required for observed lunar structures raise questions about when alien activity began on the Moon and how long it has continued. Some formations show evidence of recent construction or modification, while others appear ancient based on their integration with surrounding terrain and impact crater patterns. This suggests ongoing construction activity spanning potentially thousands of years. Modular construction techniques appear to be employed in many suspected alien structures, with standardized components that can be combined to create larger facilities as needed. This approach would be highly efficient for space-based construction, where materials must be transported from great distances or manufactured locally under challenging conditions. The repeated use of similar architectural elements across different lunar locations supports the theory of coordinated construction by a single intelligence. The absence of obvious waste or debris around suspected construction sites indicates either extremely efficient building techniques or systematic cleanup practices that remove construction evidence. Natural geological processes on Earth and other planets typically leave debris fields, displaced materials, and other signs of the forces that created various formations. The pristine condition of suspected lunar alien sites suggests active maintenance or advanced construction methods that minimize environmental impact. Scale models and engineering analysis of suspected lunar structures reveal construction techniques that would be challenging even for current human technology. The size, precision, and apparent structural integrity of these formations indicate engineering capabilities that exceed conventional terrestrial construction methods. This technological sophistication provides additional evidence that the structures were created by an advanced intelligence with capabilities far beyond current human science. The architectural evidence scattered across the lunar surface tells a story of long-term alien presence, sophisticated construction capabilities, and strategic planning for activities that remain largely hidden from terrestrial observation. Whether these structures represent research facilities, military installations, mining operations, or something else entirely, their existence would fundamentally change humanity's understanding of our place in the cosmic hierarchy. The concept that our moon might be hollow, rather than solid, challenges fundamental assumptions about planetary formation and opens possibilities that border on this fantastic. Yet mounting evidence from seismic studies, gravitational measurements, and orbital mechanics suggests that significant portions of the lunar interior may indeed be empty space, rather than solid rock and metal. If confirmed, this discovery would represent either the most extraordinary natural phenomenon in the solar system, or evidence of the largest engineering project ever undertaken by an intelligent civilization. The Apollo seismic experiments provide the foundation for hollow moon theories through data that simply doesn't match what scientists expected to find. When the Apollo 12 lunar module's ascent stage was deliberately crashed into the moon on November 20th, 1969. The resulting vibrations continued for 55 minutes. A solid rocky body should have absorbed the impact energy within minutes, but the moon continued to reverberate as though the shock waves were bouncing around inside vast empty chambers. Dr. Maurice Ewing, a seismologist involved in analyzing the Apollo data, described the moon's response as unlike anything they had anticipated. The sustained reverberations suggested that the lunar interior contained large voids that allowed seismic energy to bounce back and forth rather than being absorbed by solid material. Similar results occurred during subsequent Apollo missions when various objects were crashed into the lunar surface, each time producing the characteristic bell-like ringing that shouldn't occur in a solid celestial body. The mathematical implications of the moon's density measurements support hollow interior theories through calculations that reveal significant missing mass. The moon's overall density of 3.3 grams per cubic centimeter is substantially lower than Earth's 5.5 grams per cubic centimeter, despite both bodies supposedly forming from similar materials during the early solar system's development. If the moon were solid throughout, its density should be much higher based on the known composition of lunar rock samples. Computer models attempting to reconcile the moon's mass, volume, and gravitational field consistently require the assumption of substantial internal voids to match observational data. These calculations suggest that between 20 and 40% of the lunar interior may be empty space, a proportion that would be impossible to achieve through natural planetary formation processes, but entirely consistent with artificial construction techniques. The engineering requirements for creating a hollow moon present fascinating technical challenges that push the boundaries of what advanced civilizations might accomplish. The structural integrity needed to maintain a hollow sphere, 1,200 miles in diameter, would require materials and construction techniques far beyond current human capabilities. However, the moon's lower gravity and lack of atmospheric pressure would actually make such construction easier than similar projects attempted under terrestrial conditions. Internal support structures would be essential to prevent gravitational collapse of a hollow moon, requiring a sophisticated framework of beams, trusses, and reinforcement systems distributed throughout the interior volume. Archaeological evidence from suspected alien structures on the lunar surface suggests the presence of advanced materials and construction techniques that could theoretically support such massive engineering projects. The energy requirements for excavating and constructing a hollow moon would be enormous, but not necessarily beyond the capabilities of a sufficiently advanced civilization with access to fusion or other high-density energy sources. The moon itself contains substantial deposits of helium-3, a rare isotope that could fuel clean fusion reactors with minimal radioactive waste. A civilization with mature fusion technology could potentially power continent-sized construction projects using materials readily available on the lunar surface. The timescales required for hollow moon construction provide insight into the planning and capabilities of its potential builders. Even with advanced technology, excavating and reinforcing thousands of cubic miles of internal volume would require centuries or millennia to complete. This suggests either an extremely long-lived alien civilization or a massive coordinated effort involving multiple generations working toward a common goal. The strategic advantages of a hollow moon become apparent when considering its potential functions as a massive spacecraft or observation platform. Internal volume equivalent to billions of cubic feet could house entire cities, manufacturing facilities, agricultural systems, and the infrastructure necessary to support a large population indefinitely. The moon's position in Earth orbit provides an ideal location for monitoring terrestrial activities while remaining hidden from surface-based observation. Navigation and positioning systems required to place a hollow artificial moon in perfect Earth orbit demonstrate technological sophistication that exceeds current human understanding of gravitational manipulation and spacecraft propulsion. The precision needed to achieve tidal locking, stable orbital mechanics, and the mathematical relationships that create perfect solar eclipses suggests either impossible coincidence or deliberate engineering by beings with mastery over gravitational force. Life support systems within a hollow moon would need to maintain breathable atmosphere, suitable temperature, and artificial gravity for potentially millions of inhabitants over thousands of years. The technical challenges of creating and maintaining such systems exceed anything humans have attempted. But the basic principles are understood through our experience with space stations and enclosed ecological systems. The hollow moon theory explains several puzzling aspects of lunar behavior that have troubled scientists since the Apollo era. The unexpected magnetic field variations, unusual gravitational anomalies, and thermal properties that don't match solid body predictions all become comprehensible if significant portions of the lunar interior are artificially constructed rather. Internal cities and civilizations within a hollow moon could explain the industrial activities observed by remote viewers like Ingo Swann and the apparent surveillance operations that monitor Earth-based activities. A population of alien beings living inside the moon would have perfect concealment from terrestrial observation while maintaining easy access to the lunar surface for construction, mining, and communication activities. The hollow moon concept also provides a framework for understanding why lunar exploration ended so abruptly after the Apollo program achieved its initial success. If government officials discovered that the moon was actually an artificial construct housing an advanced alien civilization, the implications for human space exploration and planetary security would be staggering. Continued lunar missions might be seen as unacceptably provocative by beings who view the moon as their home territory. Transportation systems connecting the lunar interior to surface installations would require advanced engineering, but offer significant advantages for concealing activities from Earth-based observation. Elevator systems, tunnel networks, or pneumatic transport could move personnel and materials between internal cities and surface facilities without creating visible activity that might be detected by terrestrial telescopes. The possibility that humanity shares the solar system with a hollow moon spacecraft containing an advanced alien civilization represents one of the most significant discoveries in human history. If confirmed, this revelation would fundamentally alter our understanding of planetary science, the prevalence of intelligent life in the universe, and humanity's position in the cosmic hierarchy. The evidence continues to accumulate, suggesting that our familiar celestial companion may be far more extraordinary than anyone ever imagined. The 21st century has brought unprecedented technological capabilities for lunar observation and analysis. Yet, rather than resolving questions about alien presence on the moon, modern missions have deepened the mystery while providing tantalizing hints that something extraordinary is hidden on our celestial neighbor. Advanced imaging systems, ground-penetrating radar, and international cooperation have created opportunities for discovery that previous generations of researchers could only dream about. China's Chang'e program represents the most ambitious lunar exploration effort since the Apollo era, with missions designed to answer fundamental questions about the moon's composition, history, and potential for future human habitation. However, the data emerging from these missions has raised as many questions as it has answered, particularly regarding the extensive underground structures and anomalous formations discovered on the lunar far side. The Chang'e 4 mission's successful soft landing on the far side of the moon in January 2019 marked a historic achievement that provided humanity's first ground truth data from the hemisphere permanently hidden from Earth. The mission's Yutu-2 rover has been operating continuously for over 4 years, far exceeding its planned 90-day lifespan, and collecting unprecedented information about lunar subsurface conditions. Ground-penetrating radar data from Yutu-2 has revealed layer upon layer of hidden structures extending nearly 1,000 feet beneath the moon's surface. The geometric precision and organized arrangement of these subsurface formations strongly suggests artificial construction rather than natural geological processes. However, Chinese space officials have been notably reserved in their interpretations of this data, limiting public discussion of the most intriguing discoveries. The selective release of information from Chinese lunar missions mirrors patterns established by earlier American and Soviet programs, suggesting that international agreements may exist regarding the suppression of certain types of lunar discoveries. Despite China's general openness about space achievements, detailed analysis of Chang'e's subsurface radar data remains largely classified, with only general descriptions released to international scientific journals. NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter has been continuously mapping the Moon since 2009, creating the most detailed photographic record of the lunar surface ever assembled. The orbiter's high-resolution cameras can detect objects as small as individual boulders, theoretically making it impossible to hide large-scale structures or activities from observation. Yet independent researchers continue to identify anomalies in LRO imagery that suggest artificial constructions or recent modifications to lunar terrain. The public availability of LRO data through NASA's online archives has democratized lunar anomaly research, allowing citizen scientists worldwide to analyze official imagery using sophisticated computer software. This crowdsourced investigation approach has identified hundreds of potential artificial structures, geometric formations, and other anomalies that deserve professional scientific investigation, rather than reflexive dismissal. Private space companies entering the lunar exploration market bring new perspectives and capabilities that may be less constrained by government secrecy agreements or international diplomatic considerations. SpaceX's planned lunar missions, Blue Origin's moon program, and other commercial ventures could potentially discover or reveal information that government agencies have been suppressing for decades. However, the regulatory environment for private lunar exploration remains tightly controlled by government agencies that issue launch licenses and mission approvals. Companies seeking permission for lunar missions must comply with international space law and bilateral agreements that may include provisions for information sharing or suppression depending on what they discover. Recent whistleblower revelations have taken advantage of social media and internet communication to share information more widely and rapidly than previous generations insiders could achieve. The democratization of information sharing makes it increasingly difficult for government agencies to suppress inconvenient discoveries or eliminate witnesses before they can share their knowledge with researchers worldwide. The Pentagon's acknowledgement of unidentified aerial phenomena and the release of military videos showing objects with impossible flight characteristics has created a new climate of openness regarding extraterrestrial intelligence that may extend to lunar phenomena. Government officials who previously denied all knowledge of UFOs are now admitting that some aerial phenomena exceed current understanding of physics and technology. This shift in official attitudes toward UFO phenomena has encouraged new witnesses to come forward with information about lunar anomalies, alien encounters, and government cover-up operations. The reduced stigma associated with reporting extraterrestrial experiences has led to a flood of new testimonies that corroborate earlier whistleblower accounts while providing fresh details about ongoing alien activities. International Space Station crew members have reported numerous anomalies during their extended stays in low Earth orbit, including unusual lights, geometric formations, and structured objects observed on the lunar surface during optimal viewing conditions. While most of these reports remain unofficial, the consistency of observations from multiple international crew members adds credibility to claims of artificial lunar activity. The Artemis program's planned return of humans to the lunar surface by 2026 represents a critical test of the alien presence theories that have circulated for decades. If advanced beings really have established territorial claims on the Moon, renewed human exploration attempts may trigger responses that definitively resolve questions about lunar alien activity. Mission planning for Artemis includes landing sites on the lunar South Pole region, an area that has received limited previous exploration, but shows evidence of water ice deposits essential for future human bases. However, the same regions that attract human interest for their resources may already be claimed or utilized by alien inhabitants who might not welcome renewed human presence. The technological capabilities available to Artemis missions far exceed anything available during the Apollo era, including high-definition cameras, advanced communication systems, and real-time data transmission that would make it difficult to suppress evidence of alien encounters. Live streaming of lunar surface operations may force disclosure of alien presence if direct contact occurs during mission activities. Advanced artificial intelligence and machine learning systems now available for analyzing lunar imagery have identified patterns and anomalies that human researchers might overlook. Computer algorithms can process thousands of photographs simultaneously, identifying geometric shapes, structural patterns, and other artificial indicators with precision that exceeds human visual analysis capabilities. The integration of multiple data streams from various lunar missions creates opportunities for correlation analysis that reveals hidden connections between different anomalous phenomena. Seismic data, photographic evidence, thermal measurements, and gravitational studies can be combined using advanced analytics to build comprehensive models of lunar alien activity patterns. Modern quantum communication technologies and advanced encryption systems provide new tools for secure information sharing among researchers, investigating lunar anomalies while protecting sources and methods from government interference. These technological capabilities may accelerate disclosure by making suppression efforts less effective than in previous decades. The convergence of multiple independent discovery methods, international cooperation, private sector involvement, and advanced analytical tools creates unprecedented pressure for resolution of lunar alien presence questions. Whether through gradual disclosure, inadvertent discovery, or direct encounter, the truth about what exists on the moon may finally emerge within the next decade. The technological capabilities required to establish and maintain large-scale operations on the moon represent a level of scientific achievement that exceeds current human understanding by potentially thousands of years. Every aspect of lunar alien activity, from construction and transportation to energy generation and life support, demonstrates mastery over physical principles that human science has barely begun to comprehend. Understanding the scope of this technological superiority provides crucial insights into the nature of the intelligences we may be dealing with and the implications for future human space development. Gary McKinnon's unauthorized penetration of NASA and Pentagon computer systems in the early 2000s allegedly revealed evidence of anti-gravity propulsion technology that could revolutionize space transportation and construction activities. According to McKinnon, classified documents describe propulsion systems that could achieve incredible speeds while eliminating the massive fuel requirements that limit current rocket technology. Such capabilities would make routine transportation between Earth and the Moon as simple as commercial aviation, enabling the large-scale construction projects visible in lunar imagery. Anti-gravity technology would solve fundamental engineering challenges that have prevented human expansion into space. The enormous costs associated with escaping Earth's gravitational well disappear when spacecraft can simply rise effortlessly from the surface using field manipulation rather than brute force propulsion. Construction materials, equipment, and personnel could be transported to lunar sites with minimal energy expenditure, making massive engineering projects economically feasible. The precision construction techniques evident in suspected lunar alien structures suggest manufacturing capabilities that exceed anything in human industrial experience. The geometric accuracy, material uniformity, and structural integrity visible in lunar installations require fabrication methods that can work with tolerances measured in fractions of inches across distances measured in miles. Such precision implies automated manufacturing systems guided by artificial intelligence, far more sophisticated than current terrestrial technology. Materials science represents another area where lunar alien technology demonstrates clear superiority over human capabilities. The structures visible on the lunar surface appear to be constructed from materials that maintain their integrity under extreme temperature variations. Radiation exposure and micrometeorite bombardment that would destroy conventional construction materials within years. These advanced materials may be manufactured using molecular engineering techniques that allow custom design of material properties at the atomic level. Energy generation systems capable of powering extensive lunar operations represent perhaps the most significant technological achievement demonstrated by the alien presence. The moon receives abundant solar radiation that could power conventional photovoltaic systems, but the scale of suspected activities suggests energy requirements that exceed what solar collection could provide. Nuclear fusion using the moon's helium-3 deposits could provide virtually unlimited clean energy, but only if the technical challenges of controlled fusion have been completely solved. The possibility of zero-point energy extraction or other exotic power sources cannot be dismissed when dealing with civilizations that demonstrate capabilities far beyond. Theoretical physics suggests that enormous amounts of energy exist in the quantum vacuum that could be tapped by sufficiently advanced technology. Such energy sources would provide the power necessary for massive construction projects, planetary-scale engineering, and interstellar transportation. Communication systems capable of coordinating activities across the solar system and potentially beyond represent another technological achievement that demonstrates the aliens' scientific superiority. The delays inherent in electromagnetic communication across interplanetary distances would require either faster-than-light communication methods or artificial intelligence, sophisticated enough to operate autonomously for extended periods without direct supervision. Quantum entanglement. Communication represents one theoretical possibility for instantaneous information transfer across arbitrary distances, though current human understanding of quantum mechanics provides no practical implementation path for such systems. Alternative communication methods might involve manipulation of space-time itself, creating direct connections between distant locations that bypass the normal constraints of physics. Computing and artificial intelligence capabilities required to design, construct, and operate lunar installations suggest information processing power that exceeds human computer technology by orders of magnitude. The coordination required for million-ton construction projects, spanning decades or centuries, requires computational abilities that can model complex systems, predict outcomes, and adapt to changing conditions in real time. The apparent psychic abilities observed during remote viewing sessions imply that alien technology may have developed along paths that human science has barely begun to explore. If consciousness itself can be technologically enhanced or amplified, the implications for communication, navigation, and information processing are staggering. Technology that integrates biological consciousness with artificial systems could create hybrid intelligences with capabilities that exceed both individual components. Life support technology, capable of maintaining viable ecosystems within artificial environments for thousands of years, represents another area where alien capabilities far exceed human achievements. Creating closed ecological systems that can recycle air, water, and nutrients while supporting large populations requires understanding of biological systems that goes far beyond current terrestrial knowledge. Genetic engineering capabilities might allow alien populations to adapt biologically to space environments, rather than relying entirely on technological life support systems. Modifications that improve radiation resistance, reduce oxygen requirements, or enable hibernation during long space voyages would provide significant advantages for space-based civilizations. The defensive technologies implied by warnings delivered to human space programs suggest capabilities that could easily neutralize any military threat that current human civilization might pose. The aliens' restraint in dealing with Apollo missions and other lunar activities implies either pacifist philosophies or confidence that their defensive superiority makes human aggression irrelevant. Stealth and concealment technologies that can hide massive installations from Earth-based observation demonstrate mastery over electromagnetic radiation, thermal signatures, and visual camouflage that exceeds anything in human military experience. The ability to construct and operate large-scale facilities, while remaining largely invisible to telescopic observation, requires sophisticated understanding of detection, methods, and countermeasures. Medical technology capable of supporting alien populations during extended space voyages and long-term habitation of artificial environments suggests scientific achievements in biology and medicine that could revolutionize human health and longevity. understanding of cellular repair, genetic optimization, and life extension could provide solutions to aging, disease, and environmental adaptation that would transform human civilization. The timescales over which alien lunar operations appear to have continued suggest either extremely long individual lifespans or stable social systems that can maintain consistent policies across multiple generations. Either possibility implies social and biological technologies that solve fundamental problems of mortality and social organization that continue to challenge human civilization. Manufacturing capabilities that can process raw lunar materials into finished construction components, demonstrate mastery over chemistry, metallurgy, and industrial engineering that allows complete self-sufficiency in space environments. The ability to extract, refine, and fabricate everything needed for large-scale construction, using only materials available on site, eliminates dependence on external supply chains and makes permanent space. The technological sophistication demonstrated by lunar alien activities represents achievements that could advance human civilization by centuries or millennia, if the knowledge could be shared or acquired. However, the same technological superiority that makes such advancement possible also ensures that any such transfer would occur entirely on the aliens' terms and according to their timeline rather than human preferences. The confirmation of an advanced alien civilization operating from the moon would trigger the most profound transformation in human history, affecting every aspect of our society, from religious beliefs and scientific understanding to political structures and economic systems. The implications extend far beyond simple acknowledgement of extraterrestrial intelligence to encompass fundamental questions about humanity's role in the universe and our readiness to join what may be a vast galactic community. Picture the morning when the news breaks, not through carefully managed government press conferences or academic papers, but through undeniable evidence that can no longer be suppressed. Perhaps an Artemis mission encounters alien structures directly. Maybe Chinese lunar operations discover something too significant to hide. Or possibly the aliens themselves decide that humanity has reached a point where continued secrecy serves no purpose. However the revelation comes, that moment will mark the end of humanity's cosmic childhood and the beginning of our adolescence as a spacefaring civilization. Religious institutions worldwide would face unprecedented challenges in reconciling traditional theological teachings with the reality of technologically superior beings who have been observing human civilization for potentially thousands of years. Christianity, Islam, Judaism, and other major faiths would need to address whether these aliens represent divine messengers, advanced natural beings, or something else entirely within their theological frameworks. The Catholic Church has already begun preparing for such revelations through statements by Vatican astronomers who have suggested that discovering extraterrestrial life would not necessarily conflict with Christian teaching. However, the specific case of aliens who have been secretly monitoring Earth from the moon raises more complex questions about divine providence, human free will, and the nature of spiritual development under cosmic observation. If these beings have been watching us throughout our religious history, what does that say about the authenticity of religious experiences and the development of human spiritual beliefs? Eastern religions and philosophical traditions may find alien contact less theologically challenging, since many already encompass concepts of multiple worlds, advanced beings, and cosmic consciousness that could easily accommodate extraterrestrial intelligence. Buddhist concepts of enlightened beings existing across multiple realms, Hindu teachings about advanced civilizations on other worlds, and indigenous traditions that speak of star people and sky beings all provide frameworks for understanding alien presence without requiring fundamental revision of core beliefs. Yet even religions that seem prepared for cosmic contact would face practical challenges in maintaining their relevance and authority when confronted with beings whose technological and possibly spiritual advancement exceeds anything in human religious tradition. How do you maintain faith in ancient scriptures when aliens possess demonstrable capabilities that surpass any miracles described in religious texts? The challenge wouldn't necessarily be theological but psychological. as humans struggle to maintain their sense of spiritual significance in the face of obviously superior beings. Scientific institutions would undergo revolutionary changes as fundamental assumptions about planetary formation, the rarity of intelligent life, and the pace of technological development are proven incorrect. Every branch of science would require major revisions to accommodate evidence that advanced civilizations have been active in our solar system far longer than previously imagined. Astronomy textbooks would need complete rewrites. Geology would expand to include astrogeology and xenogeology. Biology would encompass exobiology as a primary field, rather than a theoretical specialty. The discovery that the moon may be an artificial construct or extensively modified natural satellite would revolutionize planetary science and force complete reconsideration of how celestial bodies form and evolve. Graduate students would suddenly find their research topics obsolete, while entirely new fields of study emerge overnight. Universities would scramble to create programs in alien archaeology, xenotechnology, and interspecies communication studies. Medical science would face perhaps the most dramatic transformation of all. If aliens have conquered aging, disease, and the biological limitations that constrain human life, access to their knowledge could eliminate most of the health problems that currently afflict our species. Cancer, heart disease, neurological disorders, and genetic defects might become historical curiosities rather than ongoing medical challenges. However, such advances would also raise profound questions about human identity, mortality, and what it means to be human when biological limitations can be technologically transcended. Educational systems at all levels would face the challenge of preparing students for a reality that includes technologically superior alien intelligence, while maintaining social stability and psychological health. Children would grow up knowing that humanity is not alone, and that other beings possess capabilities that seem almost magical compared to current human technology. The psychological impact of this knowledge on developing minds could be either profoundly inspiring or deeply disturbing, depending on how the information is presented and integrated into educational curricula. Political structures designed for managing human affairs within terrestrial boundaries would prove inadequate for dealing with alien contact and the possibility of joining. New forms of governance, law, and diplomacy would need to emerge that can represent human interests while acknowledging the reality of superior alien capabilities. The United Nations might evolve into a United Worlds Organization, or entirely new institutions might be created to handle interspecies relations. International relations could be completely transformed as national boundaries and terrestrial conflicts become irrelevant in the face of cosmic citizenship. Wars over territorial disputes, resource access, and ideological differences might seem as petty to future generations as tribal conflicts seem to us today. Countries might find cooperation essential when humanity needs to present a unified voice in galactic affairs, rather than appearing as a collection of squabbling nation-states. Economic systems based on resource scarcity and competition for limited materials could be revolutionized by access to alien technology that enables unlimited energy, production, advanced manufacturing, and space-based resource extraction. If aliens have mastered fusion energy using lunar helium-3, developed manufacturing techniques that can create any desired material from basic elements, and established mining operations throughout the solar system, traditional economic models based on scarcity might become obsolete within decades. The transition to a post-scarcity economy would create both tremendous opportunities and severe disruptions. Millions of jobs in traditional industries might disappear overnight, while entirely new categories of work emerge. Some economists suggest that universal basic income or similar social support systems would become essential during such transitions, but the social and political challenges of managing such changes could be enormous. Environmental problems that currently seem intractable might be solved through alien technology, but at the cost of human independence and self-determination. Climate change, pollution, habitat destruction, and resource depletion could all be addressed using advanced alien techniques. But accepting such help would acknowledge humanity's dependence on beings whose ultimate intentions remain unknown. The choice between environmental salvation and technological dependence could divide human society for generations. Cultural changes would be equally profound, as humanity grapples with no longer being the most intelligent species in the known universe. Art, literature, music, and other forms of creative expression would all be influenced by awareness of alien observers and the possibility of galactic audiences. Human culture might either retreat into defensive isolation to preserve its unique characteristics or embrace cosmic influences that could transform it beyond recognition. The psychological impact on individual humans could range from profound inspiration to existential crisis, depending on personal beliefs, educational background, and psychological resilience. Some people might find cosmic citizenship liberating and exciting, while others might experience anxiety, depression, or identity crisis when forced to confront humanity's relatively primitive status compared to alien civilizations. Ultimately, the implications of lunar alien presence would force humanity to make fundamental choices about our future development. Do we seek integration with galactic civilization, even if it means accepting junior partner status? Do we attempt to maintain human independence despite technological inferiority? Or do we try to find some middle path that preserves human identity while embracing cosmic opportunities? The answers to these questions will shape the trajectory of human civilization for millennia to come. The future stretches before humanity like an uncharted ocean, vast with possibilities that range from transcendent enlightenment to cosmic insignificance. What happens next depends not only on the intentions of the watchers who have been observing us from their lunar sanctuary, but on humanity's own choices about how we respond to the revelation that we are not alone. The decisions made in the coming decades will determine whether our species joins a galactic community as respected partners or remains quarantined on Earth as cosmic. Adolescence too dangerous or primitive for wider contact. NASA's Artemis program represents the first critical test of humanity's readiness for renewed lunar contact. When American astronauts return to the moon's surface in 2026, they will be walking into a situation far more complex than the straightforward exploration missions of the Apollo era. If alien bases really exist on the far side of the moon, if underground installations span thousands of miles beneath the lunar surface, if advanced beings have been watching Earth for millennia, then Artemis crews will inevitably encounter evidence that will force disclosure, whether governments are prepared or not. The mission planners working on Artemis face challenges they cannot publicly acknowledge. How do you prepare astronauts for potential alien contact without triggering public panic or international incidents? How do you plan landing sites and exploration routes when significant portions of the moon may be off limits to human access? How do you maintain mission secrecy when live communications and high-definition video feeds make real-time suppression of information nearly impossible? The Artemis missions will carry technology far more advanced than anything available during the Apollo era. Ultra-high-resolution cameras, real-time communication systems, ground-penetrating radar, and advanced analytical equipment will make it virtually impossible to hide evidence of alien structures or activities if they exist. Mission commanders may find themselves forced to make decisions about disclosure in real time, without guidance from Earth-based authorities who might prefer continued secrecy. International cooperation in lunar exploration adds another layer of complexity to the disclosure timeline. China's Chang'e program, Russia's Luna missions, India's Chandrayaan projects, and private commercial ventures from multiple countries create a situation where no single government can control the flow of information about lunar discoveries. When multiple nations and private companies are conducting independent lunar operations, coordinated suppression of alien evidence becomes increasingly difficult to maintain. The psychological preparation of humanity for cosmic contact may be happening gradually through popular culture, government disclosures about UFO phenomena, and the steady drumbeat of scientific discoveries that make extraterrestrial life seem increasingly probable. Science fiction movies, television shows, and books have been preparing public consciousness for alien contact scenarios for decades. potentially reducing the shock and panic that might otherwise accompany official disclosure. The Pentagon's recent acknowledgement of unidentified aerial phenomena and the release of military videos showing objects with impossible flight characteristics represents a significant shift in official attitudes toward extraterrestrial intelligence. Government officials who spent decades denying all knowledge of UFOs are now admitting that some aerial phenomena exceed current understanding of physics and technology. This gradual disclosure approach may be preparing the public for even more dramatic revelations about lunar alien presence. Religious institutions have been quietly preparing their congregations for the possibility of extraterrestrial life through theological discussions, Vatican statements, and interfaith dialogues about the implications of cosmic contact. Rather than waiting for official disclosure to create religious crises, spiritual leaders are proactively developing frameworks for understanding alien intelligence within existing religious traditions. Educational systems are beginning to incorporate astrobiology, space ethics, and cosmic perspective into their curricula, preparing students to think beyond terrestrial boundaries even before official contact occurs. Universities are establishing programs in astrogeology, xenoarchaeology, and interspecies communication studies, creating academic infrastructure that could rapidly expand if alien contact becomes public knowledge. Technology integration presents both the greatest opportunity and the most dangerous challenge of eventual alien contact. If lunar aliens possess technologies that could solve climate change, eliminate scarcity, enable interstellar travel, and transcend biological limitations, the benefits to humanity could be immeasurable. However, dependence on alien technology could also make humanity perpetually subordinate to beings whose ultimate intentions remain unknown. The timeline for technology transfer would likely be controlled entirely by the aliens themselves, based on their assessment of human readiness and the potential risks of sharing advanced capabilities with a species that has not yet learned to live peacefully with itself. Fusion energy, anti-gravity propulsion, advanced materials, and life extension technologies might be introduced gradually over decades or centuries rather than all at once. Contact protocols developed by organizations like SETI assume that first contact will occur through radio signals from distant star systems, giving humanity time to prepare responses and develop appropriate procedures. However, if aliens are already present on the moon, first official contact could happen much more suddenly, requiring rapid development of diplomatic, legal, and cultural frameworks for interspecies relations. The selection and training of human ambassadors for alien contact represents a challenge that no government or international organization has seriously addressed. What qualifications would prepare someone to represent humanity in negotiations with technologically superior beings? How do you train diplomats for contact scenarios that have no historical precedent and may involve forms of communication beyond human experience? Trade relationships between humans and aliens could transform both civilizations, but the terms of such exchanges would necessarily be determined by the aliens' superior capabilities and knowledge. Humanity might offer cultural products, artistic expressions, or unique biological perspectives in exchange for technologies and knowledge that could advance our civilization by thousands of years. However, such unequal exchanges could also create permanent dependence, relationships that limit human autonomy. The greater galactic community that humanity might eventually join could include hundreds or thousands of intelligent species, each with their own histories, cultures, and technological capabilities. Our moon-based watchers might represent just one civilization among many, perhaps serving as intermediaries or evaluators, who determine when species are ready for broader cosmic contact. Earth's integration into galactic civilization would likely follow protocols and procedures developed over millions of years of interspecies contact. Humanity would need to prove its readiness through demonstrations of peaceful cooperation, technological competence, and psychological maturity before being granted full membership in whatever institutions govern galactic affairs. The Watchers' long-term plan for humanity remains one of the greatest mysteries surrounding their presence on the moon. Are they preparing us for eventual integration into galactic society? Are they protecting us from more dangerous alien species? Are they studying human development for scientific purposes? Or are they simply monitoring a potentially dangerous species to ensure we don't threaten other civilizations as we develop space travel capabilities? The test that humanity must pass before achieving cosmic citizenship could involve demonstrations of our ability to solve global problems cooperatively, develop sustainable relationships with our environment, and transcend the tribal conflicts that have characterized most of human history. Success would open pathways to knowledge and experiences beyond imagination. Failure might result in continued isolation or more active intervention by beings who decide that humanity poses too great a risk to be allowed unrestricted development. Your role in humanity's cosmic future depends on how you choose to respond to the growing evidence that we are not alone. Will you approach these revelations with fear and denial, or with wonder and preparation for the transformation ahead? The choice between cosmic citizenship and continued isolation may ultimately rest with each individual human's willingness to embrace a larger universe filled with intelligence, mystery, and possibility beyond our current comprehension. As we drift back from our lunar expedition tonight, we're left with more questions than answers. The moon continues to hang in our sky, silent and distant, keeping whatever secrets it might hold locked away from our curious eyes. Whether it's a natural celestial body, an ancient alien construct, or something else entirely, one thing remains certain: the mystery endures. What do you think lies hidden in those lunar shadows? Have you ever looked up at the full moon and wondered what stories it could tell? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let me know what cosmic mystery you'd like us to explore next. Perhaps we'll venture to Mars, or dive deep into the oceanic mysteries of Europa. Until then, sleep well, and keep looking up. The universe is vast, and somewhere out there, answers are waiting to be discovered.